All right, welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Long Shots podcast. What do you think? How do you feel about that name?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So the reason why I chose that name was because, it's got some lens, how would you say,
Like some wordplay?
Yeah, it's got some wordplay, but also like I was a long shot, right? Like I moved to Florida from New Jersey in 2011 with nothing. And like sometimes I forget about like how far I've come. So it's like just a good reminder,
You have come really far, dude.
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
And
you're a big part of the journey, so I'm excited to have you here. And this is Jairo with Next Trend Media, and I've known Jairo for probably
I think going on 2 years now.
2 years
and stuff, right?
Yeah, about 2 years. We met at the skate park actually.
Riding
bikes. Yep, which is a big part of my life and my journey. I think like as a kid, I was always growing up building dirt jumps behind the gas station. You know? I don't know if you what was your story like growing up with bikes? Like, how did you get into it?
Ooh, I like this topic. Okay,
Yeah.
so in my neighborhood, where I live today, in fact, the house that we ended up buying off my parents, we're living we're living there now, but I grew up in that home.
Yeah.
And down the street, we had some friends around the same age group, and we would just set up these cinder blocks and whatever plywood that was, just hanging out there. We'd reinforce it, maybe put some blocks on the bottom so it wouldn't, flap. And we would just go to the end of the street and just gun it and see who would hit the ramp the farthest. Sometimes we would put a landing. Montimes we would just go to flat.
Yeah.
And that's it. I just remember not even having a BMX bike, just going to Walmart, having a $100
What was
Mongoose
the first bike? The Mongoose bike was the one you were jumping with when you started?
I had, no, actually, I don't even think we could afford, I would say, that tier of, I guess, a quote-unquote BMX bike.
Yeah.
But it was just like a random bike. My first BMX, quote-unquote, 20-inch bike was a 20-inch Mongoose with the 5-star Magnums. It weighed a ton, like 50 pounds. So,
yeah.
And I remember going to the skate park, and my mentor, actually, I call him my mentor because he's the first person who actually told me, don't be a freaking pea, don't be a pussy.
Yeah.
Just go do the disaster or go, hit the jump. He told me to just rip off those brakes.
Your BMX mentor or your life mentor or both?
I would say BMX mentor.
Who is that?
In fact, his name is... he has a lot of names. He goes by Panda, Big Mike, but his name is Miguel.
Okay.
He's actually based out in Daytona. He's an amazing tattoo artist. He's the one that gave me my first tattoo.
Cool.
Which was, this actually is hieroglyphics for the term challenge. Like this, the line on top with the triangle means challenge. And obviously we all know this is the iris of a camera. So the concept of that was focus on the challenge.
Nice.
And he did my first tattoo and my wife's first tattoo. That same year was the year that, we quit our jobs and pursued what we love doing, which is, video and photography. But, that's a little segue. Just BMX altogether. My buddy Miguel was the first person who basically told me, just rip off the brakes.
Yeah.
After riding, I would say a good 3 or 4 months, the forks on the bike were literally bent forward from how much, I was going at it. And maybe like 3 or 4 months later, I got my first bike, which was a Jairo. And then the joke was, oh, look, it's Jairo. It was red, so it matched my brand, I guess.
Do you remember what the model was? Because that was my first official BMX bike too. I had the Back Trail X3. It was my first official one.
I can't remember. I hated having branding on my bikes.
So you took the stickers off. Yeah, we all did back then.
It was unsealed, unsealed bearings, and that bike also went to crap as well. So I went through so many bikes. I had an Eastern Deceased. I remember the frame cracking on me after doing a feeble 180 at the YMCA. Unfortunately, rest in peace to the YMCA.
Yeah.
But lots of trial and error.
Talk about how BMX has helped you in your career and life today.
I really love that question. I've been wanting to speak about that topic for a really long time because BMX, any sport, it can be tennis, it can be football, it can be soccer. You always want to one-up yourself.
Yeah.
And from, being in high school, because I started riding in high school, I would never give up. Like if I wanted to learn bar spins, I always told myself, oh, bar spins are going to be the death of me. and I kept going and going and going. I think BMX teaches you perseverance.
Yeah.
To not give up. You know, it's no pain, no gain, literally.
Yeah.
I've split my head open before. I got 11 staples. It's on this hand. I cut open my hand. I broke my ankle. I've separated my AC joint. I mean, you name it. Hematoma on my right quad. I've been through it all.
Yeah. I mean, kids are just soft these days. They're not getting out. They're not built like that.
No, they're not.
You know?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like this group of like BMXers, like I've seen like there's a couple kids that actually not kids anymore. I mean, they're probably like 21 or so.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Killing it. And I honestly wish that I guess my parents would have been like more. I want to say more supportive about it, because at the same time that they knew I was in a safe environment, like at the skate park, they were also nervous of like the injuries and stuff like that. But nevertheless, like it was always fun just going to ride and go with friends. The competitions that were more frequent back then, it just really taught me to not have to rely like on a group of friends. I guess if you just wanted to go out and ride and get a good sweat and a good exercise, that's cool. And then when you had your friends or like these BMX jams where you just really see that community fall in, that's why I like BMX.
Yeah.
And then altogether, like I mentioned before, like the perseverance part, like just like small details like sports, like for even like starting really young, teaches kids to not give up on something that they actually truly love.
Yeah.
And they're also getting a benefit out of it.
Yeah.
They're not staying home, they're not playing video games, they're not on their phones, they're outside, they're getting a sweat in, you know, and they're also in some points, you know, meeting other people and friends with the same mindset, like the same way as you and I.
Yeah. You never know who you're going to meet out there, you know?
No, not really.
Yeah, I think that's a great, you summarize it perfect. Like perseverance, you know, getting up after you get knocked down, struggling through hard times, pushing and not giving up, because most people are like, oh, I'll try it once or twice if I can't get it. It's like, that's not how life works.
No.
Life is a repetitive thing. And if you're not like getting those reps in whatever you're doing, you're never going to get better. So tell me how you got into photography and video work.
So I actually went to G-Star School of the Arts, located here in Palm Springs, Florida, and I never actually thought that my spark of interest would start there.
You went from there out of high school, right out of high school?
Sorry?
You went from there right out of high school? Right from high school to G-Star?
Well, G-Star School of the Arts is a high school.
Okay,
so
I didn't know that, my bad.
Yeah, I went to Palm Springs Middle, and basically right down the road, I think it's another... about a block or so away, G-Star is a high school of motion pictures of the art. And
I've driven by it a bunch of times and never really fully realized what it was.
Yeah.
So do you not do like the regular like gen ed classes there too? Like math and science and all that?
You do.
You do? Okay.
But there's obviously a bigger focus on the artistic side of it.
That's so sick. Dude.
Yeah.
I wish I that's like a really good age to like start getting into that type of thing.
And it was interesting because fast forwarding to my graduation, which was in 2013, that was also their 10th year anniversary of being a school. So it was cool because I think that at the same time, with anything, I wouldn't like to consider school as a business, but it has to be, you know, it has to be maintained and it has to evolve as well. So the evolution of G-Star, as I was there, like you noticeably saw it. Like they created a soundstage where they brought in people like Tiger Woods, Jennifer Lopez, Jason Statham, and the kids were able to work with them on like feature films.
Wow.
So that was really interesting.
How did you end up there versus traditional high school?
I got rejected by Dreyfus.
Okay. That's okay.
Anyone that it's just a joke, but we were called like the Dreyfus rejects.
Okay.
But it's fun.
What's Dreyfus?
Dreyfus is actually a high school that's located in Clematis, downtown now. Also,
is that like a charter or private?
It's not a private school, but you do have to audition. You have like art, you have music, you have obviously, you know, photo and video and stuff there too. But when I went to go audition, my father was he was a dental technician, and he was really good with his hands, which also, you know, obviously meant that, you know, he was a really great drawer. He loved to draw like portraits, anything. Like his favorite thing was like eagles, so he would draw eagles and stuff like that. So I thought that, hey, let me try to, you know, go after, you know, what my dad did. You know, we were always really creative, good with our hands too. So I thought that, hey, let me try to audition for Dreyfus. So they sent me in the mail an audition, and it was this really, really complex lion. I remember it was a lion that I had to draw. Like there was a square, an empty square, and then the square of the lion that I had to basically recreate. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Probably won't be able to do this. So I was like, you know what? I
Gave it
might.
your best shot.
I honestly didn't try it. And then I searched for other options, and that's when we found G-Star, where we didn't need an audition. I just needed a certain GPA to get in there.
But wait, how did you even get the idea of doing like this specialty trade creative school versus just going to like whatever it is, your local Forest Hill High School or whatever? I don't know what the school is. So it is on Forest Hill, right?
Correct.
It's Forest Hill High School, or is it?
Forest Hill is on Forest Hill High School, and I guess coincidentally,
right. So why would you do? Because it seems like you found your love for video while you were at G-Star, right?
Unfortunately, at the time, my parents had reservations about the other high schools in the area.
Okay.
So we just decided to look for any other option. It still kind of felt... Actually, G-Star is one of those schools where you don't have to fall under a certain zip code. There's people like in Pahokee and Loxahatchee who would come to the school. Obviously, they'd have to be up at like 5 a.m. just to get to like the 7:10 first bell.
It's paid school? No? Okay. You just have to audition.
Not
Or no,
even.
you have to apply. Sorry.
You have to apply and just like, again, have to fall under a certain GPA.
Dude, that
and,
is
like,
so awesome that those things
I'm not
exist.
sure how it works today,
Right.
but that's how I went, basically 10 years ago. 10 years ago, this year is my 10th year anniversary of graduating
Yeah, because
high school.
2013, 2023. Yep. Okay. So it was almost a decision for your parents, like more along the lines of like safety.
Yeah.
Then. Dude, that is like such a God thing for you to like.
I didn't go to
crazy.
Coniston. Coniston was my home school for middle school. Forest Hill was my home school for high school. So I didn't do either of those. So I went to Palm Springs, which was up the road too, and then G-Star. But believe it or not, when my first year, my freshman year, photography or video, like that the spark of interest wasn't there. In fact, I remember, we can shout him out here. In fact, he actually just got engaged. I'm super happy for him. His name is Rashard Martin. He did my first jury. The jury was our the end of the year, like final exam.
Yeah.
Right. It was a project of a video, and that would be like your final exam. I had him basically help me and almost do it completely for me because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
But after watching the process and actually like kind of like being behind the scenes of it, I learned to love it. And the teachers there were amazing. And I just learned to love the concept of it. And as, time started to evolve, and with the equipment that they had, plus also acquiring my own, which my parents bought me my first T2Y.
Yep.
That shot in 1080p and as high as 30 frames per second at the time.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to even go to 60 frames, you had to go down to 720, which was crazy. But it was all trial and error after that. I know a lot of people who were in my same class who I guess didn't apply that. Who didn't apply like that extra effort to want to learn more, instead of just learning everything from school and taking it home and like continuing to practice and practice. Like you don't learn stuff like this, just by theory and stuff like that. I'm not a big theory person. I'm a hands-on guy,
Same.
So if I see it, I'm going to be like, okay, let me try to add my own little twist to it and learn it my way,
Did you ever like get frustrated that you weren't at a regular school?
No,
Like,
not at all.
You were like, why do I have to do this like creative stuff? Like, no.
I loved every moment that was in G-Star School of the Arts. In fact, it's funny because you would think that, you want to go through like a typical like high school experience, like having a football field and stuff like that, and
pep
like
rallies and all that,
which we had our own type. Back then, actually, I learned to love also like the concept of music. I love music. I love video, all that stuff. So I started to dabble in FL Studio and create my own beats. I was a DJ. I used to DJ our school dances, some house parties and stuff like that back then. I had like these huge bookshelf speakers and this amp and like the whole 9 little mixer. And that's kind of like where I learned to like get a good taste for like scoring and music and like background and choosing the best theme for like video. Like for example, like with the clients that we work with everyone's a little bit different. So if they have like a more mellow vibe, you know, we can use maybe like a corporate style, like EDM song. If they're like a hit style, whatever training facility, or like that really, you know, upbeat EDM style music.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned to do that, and matching beats and cutting to a beat, music videos, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, audio is 50% of the video viewing experience. That's what they say, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And so I learned from that. I realized that being in like the audio or like the music industry was probably not going to be for me, because at the time it was quickly saturating. And I just said, hey, let me just stick with video. Let me just stick with one thing. And I just took what I learned, or at least learned to love from music, and applied it to video to, like you mentioned, kind of like balance that other 50%.
Yeah. You can still, you've done a lot of music videos too, right?
100%, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your journey into entrepreneurship, right? Because honestly, that's why we're here. But graduate G-Star, right? Do you have a degree, or a diploma, right?
Just a high school diploma.
Okay. And it's focused in video production.
It's literally just a high school diploma. There's no like certification that you get at the end.
Yeah. But you got that experience.
Oh, yeah.
Like way more experience than somebody who would just be like a beginner starting off on their own, right?
I would agree. So the first few years, it's obviously like theory, a little bit of hands-on, and then it starts to get more and more intricate.
Right. What'd you do right out of G-Star?
I did not take a summer off. I went right to, it's called Connecticut School of Broadcasting, CSB. Okay. They're located in North Lake. North Lake, almost like Palm Beach Gardens area. They moved the offices, but that's where I went to also go do basically a technical. Is that what it's called? Like it's called a technical school.
Yeah.
It was a 4-month certification, and I learned TV, radio, and broadcasting there. Dude. Oh, and also film.
So cool.
There was like classes where they would help you with diction, where I learned that it's not constitution, it's constitution. Or there's another one. That's called a liquid U.
Yeah.
And that's how to properly, because there's people who are like on-air personalities who have to have great diction. Mm-hmm. So I learned a little bit of that. Like ramping up to like like when you're listening to the radio and people are talking up like that first empty spot of like no lyrics and stuff like that. It's just like a sound bed, and then the lyrics start. You would have like literally 10 or 15 seconds to just go up until like the artist starts singing, because it's all live. Imagine like a board of like songs and then like empty spaces that you as the on-air personality have to speak, and then there's like commercials and stuff like that, and then you get like these segments where you have to fill in with either a guest or just a topic, and stuff like that, or like weather or traffic and stuff like that. So that's where I learned even more on the audio side, because I got to play with Adobe Audition and learn how to like remove noise from audio or just enhance it. Mm-hmm. So I took and ran a lot from what I learned at CSB.
Yeah.
And really stepped out of my comfort zone. I met some great people. There's some on-air personalities like from Miami that I got to work with in the Latino community. I got to work with Oro Solido, which is a huge merengue artist, and he put out some singles with some other DJs and other Latino artists like Fulanito. Look them up. They're so generic as far as like music's it's so generic, like music that you would hear like at even like American parties and stuff like that. Like that's them.
Yeah. So you're working with big artists
for the most part.
The most part,
and
great experience.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And then from there, it was a 4-month course. Like I said, right after high school, graduating, did not take the summer off.
Yeah.
And going into 2014, I started working at AT&T, and that's kind of where I started to learn more on the sales aspect. Mm-hmm. Because yes, you can be an artist, you can be, let me pause there. Yes, you can be an artist, but you're gonna be a broke ass artist if you don't know how to sell yourself.
Correct.
That's it.
So you're doing wireless?
Correct. Yeah. I sell phones, DirecTV, home automation, the whole nine. We were at a storefront.
Nice.
So it was literally like, you would learn how
We've
to
all
step
had
out of,
sales jobs.
you would have to step
It's
out of your
necessary.
comfort zone. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I took like those sales tactics and applied it to my own. You know, I learned how to sell phones. So at that point, I needed to learn how to sell myself and my services.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all easy. You know, I went 4 years working at AT&T,
Wow.
literally counting down every minute of the day. Didn't really want to be there. Maybe my first year I was kind of excited because I got up.
Something new.
It was something
Steady
new.
paycheck.
Correct.
Big company, health insurance, paid time off.
100%. And the first year, kind of exciting. Moving into the years after, it started to become a drag because my video company started to
What year
expand.
did you like incorporate or establish that?
2015, November 10th of 2015.
Okay. So about a year into your AT&T job, you started working, you filed for your own company and you started making money with video and photos.
That's right.
Okay.
I want to say that my first year of just like side gigs while I was working at the office job, probably made like what, $2,500 and an expensive maybe like $3,000,
Yeah.
which is okay.
You're in the red. Yeah, totally okay.
Which is totally
you
okay.
learned
Like your first
a
year,
lot, I'm sure.
you can't expect to be a millionaire or even like, you know, replace your job. And so that's great. I started learning the do's and don'ts, started taking like really low paying gigs. I remember once getting paid like $150 for like a 2-hour gig and like a minute and a half like video recap, you know. In 2018, about a year or so after incorporating my business to Hieroglyphics Productions, which again was that.
Yep.
I met my wife. Her name is Andrea at Her Marketing Biz.
Shout out Her Marketing Biz.
Shout out to wifey.
Shout out Pure Joy Co.
Which is our second business. We'll get that we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
And so she came from a background of business marketing, and when we met, she took an online course at Full Sail to learn more and become more aware of like the business marketing aspect. I want to pause there. Did I say business marketing? Like business like account. She
Business.
did.
Well, Full Sail is a create. So was it like more geared towards like creative stuff, like business marketing for like creatives?
Correct. No, but she came from a background of business
management.
More or less. Correct. She came from a background of like the back end of like business, not like more or less the marketing side.
Yeah.
And when her and I met, she took an online course from Full Sail, and she started learning a little bit more of like basically
The front end sales and
the other side of basically what I did, so that way we could put our heads together. And then from there is where Next Trend Media was born.
Wait, so hold on. You guys met and she was like, oh, well, you're this, you can do this. You're a photographer, but a video guy, but you don't know how to sell. So she filled that gap and like went out and learned how to do that. And then together you guys started the business.
If I was at a 60% of basically a fully functional business, like she completed that.
Yeah.
I want to say
That's cool.
She completed that because like I mentioned before, if you're an artist and if you're like, you know, if you're an artist and you don't know how to sell yourself, then you're toast, man. Like you're a broke, your hopes and dreams. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't just expect for just an opportunity to fall out of the sky and land in your, you know, on your plate.
Yeah.
So that's where I said, and I learned that you really have to you need to learn how to divide not only the artistic side, but the business aspect.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot of people who focused on like the very nitty gritty, like aesthetics and of being like a photographer and stuff like that, making everything perfect. Like, and that's great and all, like perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist, right? But then you also have to have, whether it's someone telling you or have to keep in mind that it's a business. Like you gotta,
if you don't pay the bills, there will be no creative dreams to be had.
I have a kind of like an example where I love what I do, but sometimes I can also be inefficient. We had this year, we implemented these 30-minute sessions for the holidays. And a lot of them I went on for an hour just because I love what I do and I love the people that I was working with. And when I would get back, I would kind of get like a slap on the wrist, like, "Hey, that was a 30-minute session. Why were you there for an hour and a half?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, babe, but like I love what I do. Like they were so great. And now, hey, pros and cons. I lost
Yeah.
a little bit of time, but I have a great portfolio. But I do have to keep in mind that hey, it's a business. You know, I have other things that I need to get back to, whether it's editing, you know, sending emails, getting on calls, like
Yeah.
so. Basically, the moral of the story is, as an artist, like you need to implement that other side of like the business side of it.
Yeah.
Like you can't
And she
just
balanced that out well for you.
she really did.
Yeah.
I went from charging a buck 50 for a shoot to,
Yeah.
you know, thousands of dollars just by
Yeah.
getting like that little you know, push that I needed.
Yeah.
And I honestly really owe that all to her.
That's so cool.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees. You know, you need an outside perspective to be like, you know, hey, you should be charging X amount, not this amount, you know, and like you're worth that. So go get it, you know?
One of my favorite things to say is, and I've seen this a lot because obviously a lot of really great, successful businesses are partnerships, whether it's 2 or 3 people. But if you're your only, I guess, if you're the only person in your business and you don't have like that second opinion, you're always going to be right.
Yeah.
You're always going to be right. Like if you don't,
It's not a good place to be.
no, not always.
Yeah.
No, and I feel like that was kind of like my case, like when I first started, because again, you know, I was single, or at least, you know, I had a girlfriend, and that was Andrea, and we were just getting engaged, and we weren't at that level yet. But you know, once she started seeing what I was doing and stuff like that, she was like, "Dude, like, come on, like, level up. Like, you should be charging this. You should be at least walking away with this amount. Like, what if you needed to hire somebody? You're gonna walk out with $0 like dollars, or at least matching what you were making at an hourly rate at your old job. Like the goal."
So you guys met in 2016?
Sounds about right.
Okay, and then 2018 is when you left AT&T?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, you were like, I'm going all in on myself.
Correct.
And she was kind of like the catalyst that was like helping you with the business side, but then also said like, hey, you can make a living doing this on your own.
Yes. And of course,
What did that feel like?
There was lots of trials and tribulations going into it, because I remember, so I quit my job. I would love to say that I left in good terms, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I was over it. I gave him
fuck you,
I gave him the bird one day that the office that we were at was kind of new, so it was always dead. I would always have a book or like my computer to do some extra work while, you know, clients would, you know, come in. And I just remember one day that they said, "Hey man, put your stuff away, go do some, you know, training on the computer." And I just said, I went to the back, took a deep breath, and I said, "You know what? I'm over it." You know, I had, you know, the store key on my keychain. I left it on the table, and I said, "You know what? I'm done with this."
And ever since then, you've been fully self-sufficient on your own from a business standpoint.
Yeah,
That's
100%. So cool. I remember calling my wife that day.
It's been 5 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
I remember calling my wife that day and literally crying on the phone. She's like, "Why are you crying?"
She was your fiance at that time though, or just girlfriend?
Yeah, we were.
Okay, so you were engaged.
Because we were engaged for a whole year.
It's risky, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
I remember calling her and I was crying. She was like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm not crying. I'm so happy.
I just fucking quit my job. I told them to get fucked.
And she was like, let's get it. You know, I got this good opportunity that replaced a portion of my income. I don't want to say that it replaced my entire income, because I was also commission based. But I had an opportunity where I would go Monday through Friday to a fitness related project. And I would work maybe 4 hours in the morning. Yeah, I would work 4 hours in the morning, 7 to 11, and have the entire rest of the day to just hustle, grind, and meet new people.
Yeah.
And we did that for about 4 months. About a month and a half in, my wife quit her job, and you know, she would hang out at home and just.
What was her job then?
She also worked at AT&T because she.
That's how you guys met.
We met on Tinder.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah.
We actually met on Tinder, but she actually
you
had
both worked for the same company, but like in different.
No,
facets,
I helped her get the job at AT&T because they were hiring.
Okay.
And so we both basically had a decent income with what we were both doing together. But they divided us because we were in a relationship and
Smart,
they put
yeah.
her in a whole different district.
Okay.
You know, so we weren't able to work together.
So a month and a half after going all in the business, she left, and then you guys were fully.
Yeah, because she saw that, hey, this is pretty stable. You know, you're getting all these extra side gigs now because you have more time.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was
So I
really-
think the important thing right there, right, is that most people don't see that. They don't see the 3 years of you working on your business while you're working full time. They just see you starting your own business, right? So everyone's like, "Oh, I'll just go start my own business. I'll start my own business." I had a business that I did that. I just, just go start my own business with no plan, very little research, and it I don't want to say it was a failure, but I didn't. It's not in existence anymore. We'll put it like that, right? And now even today, to current times, right? Now I am just as of this month operating my own business fully with no other full-time job after 4 years of working a full-time job and building the business.
I remember you texting me earlier this week that, hey, you know, you took 6 months to plan it out and it worked out perfectly.
Yes.
So did you learn your lesson this time?
For sure, yeah. And I like have money saved, have a plan, already have this thing. This thing is churning out money before I even was like, okay, I'm gonna go do it. You know, if that makes sense. Like I had a year. Well, I had the four years of building the business, but I had like a year of solid data and like numbers of like income that I was like, I could totally, because that was income that I was making with working 40 hours in an office. I was like, okay, if I take this income that I'm making, you know, while I'm working 40 hours and I actually put more effort into it, those numbers are going to triple, maybe quadruple, you know?
If you could ask anyone, I'm gonna use my example, and you know, you give me your take on this.
Sure.
If you could ask anyone, hey, would you be willing to take a pay cut? Would you be willing to take a pay cut to gain freedom and still have the opportunity to grow your business? Would you do it? So that basically means, so let's say at the time in 2016 or something like that, I was making 40K a year off of my sales job, including commissions, you know, more or less. And you told me, hey, for the first year, you're probably going to make 30, but you have room to grow. You're going to have a little bit more time to spend with your family. Would you do it?
Yeah, for 100%.
So that was a risk that I had to take because I took a pay cut. I think the highest paycheck I would make working at a office job maybe was like $4,500 on a really, really good commission day, commission month. And then I said, I took the opportunity where my, I would say part-time gig was about $2,500 a month, stable. But that gave me the opportunity to also go meet other people and just add on top of that. And that's it. That was our only income at the time. A month and a half later, my wife quit. And you're telling me, so how did you live off of $2,500? No, it was like literally our goal each and every day was to meet new people or at least just learn, continue learning. Like Next Trend Media wasn't even born yet. It wasn't until like we actually got married and we said, all right, you know, we've done this several months now. Let's go from Hieroglyphics Productions to Next Trend Media. Hieroglyphics Productions for
It's a little
SEO.
easier to say.
SEO was horrible. SEO was horrible.
Yeah.
But it's cool because that was actually a joke from back in high school. At least it wasn't Goya Productions.
Yeah.
I think my Spanish viewers will get that. Yeah. But that was basically it, man. Like,
I love that. Really cool. Do you want to wrap up?
You got anything else?
Yeah, I want you to give the viewers. I got one question. So if somebody is, let's not speak on creative. Let's just speak on like, because I feel like entrepreneurs and people who like are kind of like who have that business mentality, that hustle mentality. It could be. It doesn't have to be creative, right? So if somebody is an entrepreneur, you maybe notice it in them and they come to you and they're like, hey man, I'm thinking about like starting this business, or I'm thinking about like going all in on myself. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm on the fence. Like, what would you say to inspire them, or what kind of advice would you give to them?
Well, I'd ask them, you know, it's kind of like an audit, right? You know, you try to, if you want to help somebody, whether it's a business, whatever, you try to audit them, see where they're standing.
Yeah.
And we asked them, I mean, so where you are now, you know? what do you like doing? Okay, do you see yourself doing that for the rest of your life? If not, probably, people, the same way, I guess I'm going to use this term differently. Our taste buds change every 8 years, just like kids, they hate vegetables, they hate broccoli. Okay, later down their life, they end up liking it. Well, the same thing I feel goes for career paths, like I mentioned before, I thought I was going to be the best, top musician or like, I guess, DJ or whatever at the time. That didn't work out, and I just decided to pursue video. I would say, hey, analyze where you are in life right now. Do you like it or not? Okay. If you don't take that risk and see if you're going to like it, I mean, you're never going to, you don't ever start at the finish line. Like, you have to start where you're at. Yeah. At least give your 80% or 75%. I can't take that phrase. I can't take ownership of that. In fact, a friend of mine, shout out to Michael Shementi. Remember Shem? He's doing amazing right now. And he's always like, you don't start at the finish line. You just don't. Dramatic pause. Another one of his great lines is, what's the acronym for the word time? Things I must experience. He's going to be really proud of me for remembering that. He's a really good buddy of mine. Things I must experience. So what are those things that you need to experience? Like, what's stopping you from getting to where you need to be or where you want to be? Yeah. Right? I mean, Next Trend Media now has been around for about 5 years. We recently, last year, launched Pure Joy Co. Yep. And that was basically the division of biz to biz to working with families and, weddings and so on. And so that was like our step to saying, hey, we can't market Next Trend Media as like weddings and stuff. Like, we needed to find something that was had a better tone towards the people we wanted to target.
For sure.
But for anyone who, I guess, going back to like the original question would be, dude, just start somewhere. Open an Instagram page. Maybe get a notepad and just start lining up the pros and cons to what you want to do, or just
get out and experience shit.
Dude, just see
you
the
need
big
to
picture.
Touch everything, feel everything, try everything. Like, you don't know what you might like. What might just set you on fire, and then what most people don't realize is that you might be able to make a living doing it.
100%.
You might be able to get paid. People might be able to pay you to index Pokemon cards or whatever crazy shit that you're into, But you don't know unless you try.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there, man. Thank you, everyone, for checking out the podcast. Tell people where they can find you, and we're going to close this sucker out.
Yeah, man. So Jairo here. You can find me at my personal @Media with Jairo. We've got Next Trend Media. That's our business page that focuses just basically what, Andrew and I do together. It's biz to biz. And then Pure Joy Co. @Pure Joy Co. or purejoyevents.co. That focuses solely on wedding productions, wedding planning, and so much more.
All the sappy shit.
Yeah. Andrew, thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Okay. All right, everyone. Peace.